music, rivalry is everything. Two bands fighting for the same audience. Two legends competing for the same chart position. Two egos crammed into one era. But sometimes, behind closed doors, in the middle of the night, in a studio nobody was supposed to be in, the rivals showed up and saved everything. Today we are telling 12 of those stories. 12 moments where the competition, the enemy, the person on the other side of the music war, quietly, secretly, without credit, saved the song, saved the album, and changed history. These are documented, these are verified, these are real. Number 1, Fame. David Bowie, 1975. It is January 1975. David Bowie is at Electric Lady Studios in New York, finishing his Young Americans album. He just needs one more song. Then John Lennon walks in. Lennon was in New York during what he called his lost weekend, his separation from Yoko. Oh no. He and Bowie had become close friends after meeting at a party thrown by Elizabeth Taylor. That night, Lennon came by to help record a cover of Across the Universe. But after finishing it quickly, Bowie said, "Let's write something." Guitarist Carlos Alomar began playing a riff he had developed for a song called Foot Stomping. Lennon heard it and immediately started singing nonsense syllables over the top. The sounds he was making were completely improvised and inaccurate, but one of them, somewhere between aim and something else, sounded to Bowie like the word fame. That single sound sparked the entire song. Engineer Eddie Kramer recalled, "The story is Carlos Alomar was jamming the riff that became Fame, and Bowie walked in and said, 'Oi, I want that.' And that started the process." Lennon played acoustic guitar. He supervised the backwards piano at the opening. He sang the cascading high-register backing vocal. He co-wrote the lyrics in a single session. By the end of that one extraordinary night, Fame was done. Released in 1975, Fame reached #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. It became David Bowie's first ever #1 in America. John Lennon later reflected, "I got my first #1 with Elton, so I passed it on to Bowie and he got his." A Beatle wandered into a studio, mumbled nonsense over a guitar riff, and accidentally handed Bowie the biggest chart position of his career. Number 2, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, John Lennon, 1974. In the late summer of 1974, John Lennon is recording his Walls and Bridges album in New York. Elton John, the biggest pop star on the planet, drops by the studio with a mutual friend named Tony King. Lennon has been working on a loose, funky track. He doesn't know what to do with the second half. Elton sits down at the piano without being asked. Within minutes, he finds the piano line that turns a good song into a great one, and the harmony vocal that fills the gap Lennon couldn't figure out. Elton John listened to the playback and told Lennon directly, "This is a #1. Lennon's skepticism was immediate. He said he was out of favor in America. Elton replied, "Let's make a bet. If this goes to #1, you come on stage with me at Madison Square Garden on Thanksgiving night." Lennon shook hands. He was certain he would never have to pay up. Whatever Gets You Through the Night was released in September 1974. By November 16th, it was #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was John Lennon's only solo #1 in America during his lifetime, the last Beatles to achieve it. Elton called immediately to collect. On November 28, 1974, Lennon walked onto the Madison Square Garden stage. The crowd erupted into what Lennon described as Beatlemania-level screaming. He said, "I thought, what is this? I hadn't heard it since the Beatles." It was the last time he ever performed live in front of an audience. Elton John had walked into a late-night session and accidentally created Lennon's greatest solo triumph and forced one of the most emotional farewell performances in rock history. Number 3, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, The Beatles, 1968. By the summer of 1968, George Harrison had written what he knew was one of his best songs. While My Guitar Gently Weeps was deeply personal, an expression of his spiritual isolation within the band and his belief that the world had forgotten how to love. Still my guitar. There was just one problem. John Lennon and Paul McCartney were not interested. Harrison's revealed into 1987 guitar player interview. I worked on that song with John, Paul, and Ringo one day, and they were not interested in it at all. The tension in the White Album sessions was almost unbearable. Ringo had temporarily quit the band. McCartney and Lennon were locked in a power struggle. Harrison felt invisible, so he called his friend Eric Clapton. Clapton refused immediately. I can't do that. Nobody ever plays on Beatles records. But Harrison wouldn't accept it. He said, look, it's my song and I want you to play on it. Clapton arrived at Abbey Road. The effect was immediate. Harrison later said, Eric came in and the other guys were as good as gold because he was there. The presence of an outside guitar legend made Lennon and McCartney behave. The session that had stalled for weeks came together in a single night. Clapton's solo, processed with ADT, which engineer Chris Thomas created by manually waggling the oscillator for hours, gave the guitar that distinctive wobbling, weeping quality. Eric Clapton was never officially credited on the original White Album pressing. The solo that millions of people have heard their entire lives was played by a man whose name did not appear on the record. He said nobody plays on Beatles records. Then he played on a Beatles record and changed it forever.
If you just learned something you never knew before, there is a whole lot more where that came from. Hit subscribe to The Rock Lens. Every single week, we go deeper into the real stories, secrets, and hidden history behind the music you have loved your whole life. The button is right there. One click. We will see you in the next one.
Number 4, Gimme Shelter, The Rolling Stones, 1969. It is October 1969. The Rolling Stones are at Sunset Sound in Los Angeles, mixing what will become Let It Bleed, one of the defining albums of the decade. The opening track, Gimme Shelter, is nearly finished, but something is missing. Need a female voice. Producer Jack Nitschke picks up the phone and calls session singer Mary Clayton. It is close to midnight. Clayton is pregnant, already in bed, with her hair in curlers. She would later recall wearing silk pajamas and a beautiful Chanel scarf when the limo arrived at her door. She had no idea who the Rolling Stones were. Her husband convinced her to go. She arrived at the studio, was introduced to 2 British men she didn't know, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and was escorted into the recording booth. She recorded the line, "War Children, it's just a shot away," 3 times in a row, with increasing ferocity each pass. On the second take, at the moment of peak intensity, singing the word murder, her voice cracked wide open under the pressure. You can hear it clearly in the recording, right at the 2-minute 59 mark. And then you can hear Mick Jagger, in the background, let out a stunned and delighted "woo!" Producer Jimmy Miller and Jagger exchanged a look. Nobody suggested a retake. That raw, human crack in her voice, that involuntary moment of physical emotion, became the most powerful second in the entire song. Clayton returned home that night and suffered a miscarriage, attributed by some sources to the physical strain of reaching those extreme notes. She was never prominently credited on the original album release. Number 5, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' Stevie Nicks. In 1981, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were recording their Hard Promises album when producer Jimmy Iovine made a decision that would change rock history. Iovine was simultaneously producing Stevie Nicks' debut solo album, Belladonna. Nicks had asked Tom Petty to write a song for her. Petty attempted it, writing a ballad called Insider. But when the two sang it together, Petty liked it so much he took it back. It ended up on his own album. So Iovine went back to the Hard Promises sessions and identified another song, Stop Draggin' My Heart Around, written by Petty and Heartbreakers guitarist Mike Campbell. The Heartbreakers had already finished it, right down to Petty's full lead vocal, and Iovine, without ceremony, gave it to Stevie Nicks. Nicks' vocal was recorded on top of the existing Heartbreakers track, in the verses, where Petty's lead vocal was already recorded. He stayed on the track, singing beneath her. The entire Heartbreakers band provided the instrumentation. The song was released as the lead single from Belladonna in July 1981. Nicks' album went to number 1. Stop Draggin' My Heart Around reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. But here is the detail that makes this story extraordinary. According to Fortune magazine's chart of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' best-selling track Stop Draggin' My Heart Around, the song that Petty had built and then had taken from him became his best-selling track of his entire career. Over an album that ran quadruple platinum and sold 6 million copies. Tom Petty's biggest commercial hit was on someone else's record. Number 6, Because the Night, Patti Smith Group, 1978. In 1977, Bruce Springsteen is at the record plant in New York, recording what will become Darkness on the Edge of Town. He is in the middle of a massive creative outburst, writing more songs than any album could. Hold, one of them, a passionate, churning love song, gets partially written and then set aside. He cannot find the right lyric for the chorus. It sits on a shelf. At the same time, Patti Smith and her band are recording in the studio next door. Producer Jimmy Iovine, who was working with Springsteen, quietly passed the unfinished demo tape to Smith through the shared studio wall. He thought she might be able to use it. Smith listened and immediately understood what the song was reaching for. She rewrote the chorus from scratch. She took Springsteen's raw musical framework and rebuilt the emotional architecture around it, turning a half-finished love song into a fully realized statement about desire and the night and the urgency of being alive. Springsteen was not initially informed. He found out later that the song had been taken and reworked. His reaction was gracious. He gave Smith full permission and accepted co-writing. Credit. Because the Night was released in 1978. It reached number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming Patti Smith's only top 20 hit and the biggest commercial moment of her career. Springsteen's original version appeared years later on archival releases. Two of rock's most distinctive voices, one unfinished song, a single shared studio wall. The rival heard what the song needed and finished it. Number 7, Walk This Way, Run DMC and Aerosmith, 1986. By 1986, Aerosmith were finished. Drug addiction had destroyed the band. The classic lineup had fractured. They hadn't had a significant hit in a decade. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry could barely be in the same room. On the other side of the musical universe, hip-hop was still fighting for legitimacy. Many rock fans considered it a fad. Many rappers considered rock music the enemy. These were two completely separate worlds. Then Then a young producer named Rick Rubin had an idea. Run DMC had already been performing a version of Walk This Way as part of their live set. They sampled the drum intro. They rapped over the chords. But Rubin wanted something more. He wanted the actual Aerosmith. He wanted real guitars. He wanted Steve Tyler. Problem was that Run DMC's Daryl McDaniels had never heard the original song. He had to look it up. And when Aerosmith heard the idea, their reaction was skeptical at best. Joe Perry later admitted the band had absolutely no interest in recording with rappers. Tyler and Perry flew to New York. When they walked into the studio and heard what Run DMC had done with their song, something shifted. They recorded the song together with a shared wall between them in the studio, literally. Aerosmith on one side, Run DMC on the other. Tyler eventually burst through the wall. The video played in constant rotation on MTV. It became the first rap song to receive crossover rock radio airplay. It charted at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. Rick Rubin didn't just make a hit. He relaunched Aerosmith's entire career, and he legitimized hip-hop and rock radio in a single 3-minute record. Number 8, Ebony and Ivory, Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, 1982. By 1982, Paul McCartney's solo career was at a crossroads. He was still one of the most famous musicians alive, but his recent albums had been uneven commercially, and he was struggling to establish a distinct identity outside of the Beatles' shadow. We all know that people... Then he wrote a song inspired by a single joke. British comedian Spike Milligan had said on television, "Black notes, white notes, and you need to play to make harmony, folks." The image struck McCartney. He wrote a song about racial harmony using the piano keyboard as its metaphor. Live together in perfect. And he knew immediately who needed to sing it with him. He called Stevie Wonder. Wonder and McCartney were from different worlds. One the architect of British rock, the other the defining genius of Motown soul. They had met years earlier. Harmony, side by side on my... And McCartney had placed a message to Wonder in Braille on the back cover of his 1973 album Red Rose Speedway, reading, "We love ya, baby." When McCartney called and played him the demo, Wonder agreed without hesitation. Why don't we? They recorded together at Air Studios in Montserrat. McCartney played bass and guitar. Wonder played drums. They recorded the vocals together, and then separately. The two were never in the same location simultaneously for the video, which was edited to make it appear they were. People are the same way. Ebony and Ivory was released on March 29, 1982. It reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 7 weeks. McCartney's longest run single is number 1 since Hey Jude with the Beatles. Side by side on my piano key. A Motown legend and a Beatle, 2 different industries, 1 shared piano, 7 weeks at the top of the world. Perfect harmony. Number 9, Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd, 1979. There is no pain you will receive. By 1979, Pink Floyd were no longer a band, not technically, not officially. But Roger Waters and David Gilmour had become 2 completely separate artistic forces sharing the same name. Waters was the conceptual engine behind The Wall, the most ambitious concept album in rock history. Gilmour was the guitarist, the texture, the sound, and they hated each other's ideas. Comfortably Numb began as a Gilmour composition, a piece of music he had written during his first solo album, Sessions. Waters heard it, rejected it, reused it, rejected it again. Eventually, Waters wrote new lyrics and a new arrangement around Gilmour's melody, restructuring the song around his concept of a rock star destroyed by the entertainment machine. The 2 men argued constantly about the production. Gilmour wanted a longer guitar solo in the middle section. Waters refused. The fight went back and forth through multiple sessions at Britannia Row Studios. The decision that settled it was producer Bob Ezrin, siding with Gilmour on the solo. What resulted from that bitter creative war, Waters' conceptual fury and Gilmour's soaring guitar instinct pulling in opposite directions, was the longest, most emotionally devastating guitar solo either man had ever been part of. Producer Bob Ezrin later described the solo as David Gilmour's moment of transcendence. Waters and Gilmour would fall apart completely not long after The Wall was released.
But you may feel a little sick.
By 1985, Waters had formally quit Pink Floyd and declared the band legally finished. But in one studio argument, two rivals pulling against each other on the same rope, they created what many consider the greatest guitar solo in rock history.
You are only coming through in way.
Number 10, When Love Comes to Town, U2 and B.B. King, 1988. In 1988, U2 was recording Rattle and Hum, their sprawling, ambitious double albums exploring American music roots. They have traveled to Sun Studio in Memphis, Graceland's hometown, trying to reach back to the origin of rock and roll. Bono has written a song specifically designed for one person. He wrote When Love Comes to Town as a vehicle for B.B. King, the undisputed king of the blues, the most celebrated living blues guitarist on earth. King was 63 years old. He had been recording since 1949. He had influenced every rock guitarist live, including every member of U2. But B.B., King and U2 were from entirely different universes. King was the establishment, the traditional blues world that had always been slightly suspicious of rock's appropriation of Black American music. U2 were the new guard, Irish, rock, stadium-sized, politically conscious. These were not natural collaborators. Bono called King's management. King's team was skeptical. King himself was not sure what an Irish rock band wanted with him. Then King heard the song. He flew to the sessions. His guitar, Lucille, went through the amplifier, and the recording that resulted was, in the words of music critic John Perellas of the New York Times, an unlikely but magnificent collision of two eras. The music video, filmed at a boxing arena in Dublin with King playing live on a raised platform surrounded by U2 and a screaming crowd, became one of the most iconic images of the Rattle and Hum era. B.B. King later called the collaboration one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me. Number 11, The Chain, Fleetwood Mac, 1977. By 1976, Fleetwood Mac were disintegrating. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks had broken up. John and Christine McVie's marriage was ending. Mick Fleetwood's personal life was in freefall. Every single member of the band was in some state of emotional collapse. They went into the studio to make Rumors. The Chain is the only song on the album co-written by all 5 members of the band, and it was not written as a song at all. It was assembled, like debris, from 5 completely separate musical fragments that the members had been working on independently. Stevie Nicks had a verse, Lindsey Buckingham had a guitar riff, Christine McVie had a chord sequence, John McVie had a bass line, Mick Fleetwood had a drum pattern. None of these pieces were designed to fit together. Producer Ken Kayet and the band's recording engineer Ken Olsen spent days physically stitching the fragments together, identifying where the tempos aligned, where the keys could be transposed, where one person's emotional wreckage could become another person's musical foundation. The bass line and drum section that closed the song, the iconic locked groove between John McVie and Mick Fleetwood, was assembled from a completely different piece of music and edited in manually. The result is one of the most structurally unique songs in rock history. 5 people who were actively hurting each other in real life, contributing fragments of music they each wrote alone, which were then sutured together into a single unified piece. The chain is held together by the same force that held the band together. Sheer professional will and nothing else. Number 12, Hungry Heart, Bruce Springsteen, 1980. In 1979, Bruce Springsteen has an unexpected encounter. He runs into Ramones co-founder Joey Ramone somewhere in New Jersey. They get talking. Joey mentions that the Ramones need new songs.
Like a river that don't know where it's flowing.
And Springsteen, feeling generous and not thinking too hard about it, goes home and writes a song specifically for them. The song is Hungry Heart. It is pop, pure and simple. A bright, bouncy, almost cheerful song about a man who walks out on his family and never comes back.
Everybody's got a hungry heart.
It is completely unlike anything on Darkness, On the Edge of Town. Springsteen considers it too lightweight for his own catalog. He gives it away. He plays it for his manager, John Landau. Landau listens once.
Everybody's got a hungry heart.
And then, quietly but firmly, tells Springsteen, "You're keeping this." Springsteen argued. He had already promised it to Joey Ramone. But Landau was not negotiating. He believed so completely in the song's potential that he flatly refused to let it leave.
Lay down your money and pray your part.
Springsteen made a phone call to Joey Ramone and apologized. The song was staying. Hungry Heart was released in 1980.
Everybody's got a hungry heart.
Producer John Landau sped up Springsteen's vocal in the final mix, giving it a slightly brighter, lighter quality without Springsteen's knowledge until the mix was presented.
Ain't nobody like to be alone.
It reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became Bruce Springsteen's first ever top 10 single in America. The Ramones never recorded it.
Everybody's got a
Joey Ramone was reportedly understanding about the whole thing. And John Landau, the manager who heard what Springsteen couldn't, quietly became the reason the boss had his first top 10 hit.
Everybody's got a hungry heart.